Well, good morning, church. Thank you for joining us for our daily Devo. Today, we're looking at an event that happens in all three of the Gospels. We call it the Synoptic Gospels because Matthew, Mark, and Luke kind of follow the similar pattern, but not a lot of times is an event mentioned in all three. This is one which I think means it's significant. It's the time in which Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law. And if I look at these passages, I first would encourage you to read all three of them because it's kind of neat to see the nuance. Again, Luke gives us a little more detail, telling us that they were asking, "Would you please heal her?" And we see a different look from it. But I really pull three principles from it. First is Jesus was never off the clock. If you look at it, Jesus has left the synagogue. He's now walking to a home where he's supposed to have dinner. He's supposed to relax. And when he gets there, there's someone who's sick, Peter's mother-in-law. And what does he do? He heals them. I love that. It just shows Jesus's compassion. It shows that Jesus didn't see ministry as an interruption. I love the fact that so many of us want to program what we do. Here's when I do this, here's when I do that. And for Jesus, if you look at his life, so much of his life and his ministry was responding to interruptions. In other words, what many may see as an interruption, Jesus saw as an opportunity for ministry. My wife and I will go somewhere a lot of times on a Sunday afternoon with a group of people. Maybe it's my family, maybe it's others. And usually if there's a lot of us, they'll look at me, they'll know I'm a pastor, and they'll say, "Steve, will you ask the Lord to bless the food?" And if I know the group, sometimes I'll joke and say, "Whoa, wait a minute, I'm off the clock." Usually they'll kind of get quiet for a minute, then they'll laugh. They'll know that I'm kidding. I'm not off the clock. And we have to realize, as believers, we're never off the clock. We never know when God is going to open the door for an opportunity, somewhere for us to walk through. It's not an interruption, it's an opportunity to minister. And just like Jesus, in our walk with him, we are never off the clock. The next principle we can see in this passage is that we are saved to serve, not to sit. I find it interesting that as soon as Jesus goes in and he heals Peter's mother-in-law, what does she do? She gets up and she starts to serve. I love that. She was healed. That was incredible. And she didn't just sit back and relax. Hey, I've been sick. She didn't sit back. She saw a need and she stepped in and she met it. And I think we understand that God brings new life to us. God brings healing to our life. Not that we can just sit and soak, but that we can be used by him. This week we were talking in our staff meeting about the challenge that not just our church, but other churches, where more and more people are kind of dropping into that consumer role, where they kind of just sit back and they enjoy, but they're not engaging. They're not choosing to serve. And understand, God has saved you to serve. God has gifted you. He has restored you so that you can be a restorer. His grace isn't just to rescue us, but to release us into something better. And I just want to encourage you to say, listen, if God has moved in your life, if God has made a difference in your life, it is so you can step forward into the role he's called you to do. You are an important part of the kingdom of God. If you're part of Willowbrook, we're a better church because you're there if you're letting God use your gifts. And maybe you aren't part of Willowbrook, you're at another part of the church, but if you're called and that's your home, guess what? As a home, it's a place that you serve. And just as she was healed, she stepped forward and said, "This is my next role. How do I meet the need?" And she did. Understand, you were saved to serve, not saved to sit. Our third point I would get from this passage is that faithfulness in little things opens bigger doors. We see this. Jesus starts out just stepping into the house, healing Peter's mother-in-law. And what happens? The word goes out. And you notice it will say when the sun's going down, just so you know, in that day, when the sun was going down, that day was ending and the next day was happening. In the Jewish understanding of a day, since it said in Genesis, evening and morning, it was a first day. At sunset, they see that as the start of the next day. And unlike us, who the sun goes down and we cut on the light, at them, the day really ended. You got ready for bed. And yet, when they hear what happened, they hear that Jesus is there. that he's created a healing. Next thing you know, it says the whole town shows up. Those who are sick, those who are demon possessed, ready for Christ to minister them. And I love that Christ, what does he do? Again, as we said in that first point, he's ready. It was opportunity. He healed. But guess what? That was a wide ministry that affected a whole town. And see, so many times in ministry, we can think that, you know what, God, when you open that door, I'm stepping through it. When you give me that big opportunity, I'm going to do it. And we first have to be faithful in the little opportunities God has given us. If we're going to be faithful in small things, then God can trust us to be faithful in big things. So we have to look and say, where is the ministry door opening now? Where can I be faithful where God has placed me? And rather than trying to wait until there's something that deserves my time, are we willing to step in? Because as we're faithful in where God has placed us, guess what? God opens more doors for us to walk through. So I'd challenge you, be faithful in the little things. Be faithful in the little doors of ministry God has opened, knowing as we're faithful in those small things, God can trust us and open bigger doors for us to serve. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for our daily Devo. I hope you continue, and I appreciate you investing your time with us this morning.